Okay, we have a lovely keynote coming from Patrick Moeschen. I've known Patrick since 1968, when we first met. And I've known him for, not really, 2002. I was just trying to give him some grief. We've known Pat and worked with him over time for almost forever. He's been in Europe. He filmed a documentary with us about living with Duchenne as an adult, and then he was re-diagnosed a little bit later, which I'm sure he'll tell you about. But he's been a dear friend, and we've so enjoyed working with him that once he left being a teacher, we enjoyed having him as a consultant to PPMD, where he works with the PAC. And as you know, he's made magic with the PAC in terms of lots of people interested, lots of conversations about lots of different topics. So he's been really remarkable, and the PAC members really love him to death, and they too have become heroes in their own right. With that, I'd like to introduce Pat Moeschen. You all know he got a little sick, he got a little misbehavior and got sick earlier in the fall, and now he's healthy and wise, maybe not wise, but healthy, and back with us today. So welcome, Pat Moeschen. And one other thing, you all have to stay in. There's another session after this, but we're getting our picture taken after this here, because it rains in Florida. So anyway, here's Pat Moeschen.
Come here. I'm here. I want a hug. No, come here. Come give me a hug. On stage in front of everyone. You can't say no.
I'm not staying here.
Just a hug. Love you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Good night. So, for those of you that do not know me, as Pat said, I'm Patrick, and I live up in New Hampshire. And for 25 years, I thought I had Becker muscular dystrophy, and it turns out I have limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. So when I met Pat in 2002, she was running an advocacy conference in Washington, one of the first ones. I got something in the mail or a magazine or something, and I thought, these people are crazy. There's a bunch of people that live with muscular dystrophy. They're going to go to Washington, D.C. They're going to talk to Congress. Thank you. They're going to talk to Congress and make change. Yeah, because talking to Congress is making change. No problem. So I went down to Washington, and I met Pat, and I met the staff, and I met some dear friends who are in the room. I met the Gaglianones, I met the Dengers, and we call ourselves the OGs because we're all ancient. Pat wasn't far off on the 1968 comment. But I knew I had found my people, and I felt at home, and I felt like this was a way that I could use my voice. And although I was still teaching middle school at the time, I was also educating all my students year after year about what it's like to live with a disability and what it's like to have a different lens of seeing the world. And time went by, and time passed, and I was getting sent different places by Pat, because as you all have found out being in this room, when Pat Furlong figures out your strength, she uses it against you, and you can't really get away, and you're in trouble. So fast forward a bunch of years, and I had the pleasure of going to speak over in Rome at Filippo's meeting, and I was in the Christian Science reading room after the meeting was over with some scientists that we were at the juice bar, and they started to pull and prod at me and said, you know, I don't think you have Becker. And I said, of course I have Becker. I've had Becker for 25 years. And they suggested that I go and have some more blood work done. And lo and behold, they re-diagnosed me with limb-girdle. So I called Pat because I was very confused. And I said, Pat, I have a problem. The organization supports Duchenne and Becker muscular dystrophy, and I just found out I have limb-girdle. So although I've been working with you for 10 years, I'm a fraud. And she said, I said, I have to drop out. I don't have Becker, I don't have Duchenne. And she said, well, no one really knows who you are, so we just won't tell anyone. So on we went. And as Pat mentioned, I taught middle school music and band up and through and including the pandemic. And then it was getting on almost 30 years. Those of you that know me, I'm also a married father of 2. And although I started late, almost like I have my own grandkids, being an older guy, especially living with muscular dystrophy and having a family, it's a lot. And it's difficult. And there are definitely challenges. And I just decided my heart wasn't really in teaching anymore. So through the good graces of everything, I was able to expand my role because I love working with the Patient Adult Advisory Committee, and I think we're building something really great. And I want to make sure that I acknowledge that even though I'm sitting on the stage right now, all the guys that are in the pack, you've been really, really special to me, and especially this year, a lot of support, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So I am looking at myself on the screen, so I don't know if I'm switching. Old guy using technology. There you go. So I'm a big Beatles guy. So if you're a Beatles fan, you're going to notice that I have a Beatles hidden reference in every slide that I talk with you about. And because I also am used to dealing with middle school children, I make sure that my slides have little distractions on them. So right now, you're kind of listening to me, but you're looking at the toolbox and you're wondering like how it jumps and if it's going to change. I get that. I also pace. Sorry, I should stop. I have all this nervous energy, so. I also don't like to read the slides because then why am I up here, right? You're just reading the slides. So I should also let everyone know up front that hasn't heard me speak yet, I'm a little off and I have a few screws loose, and Pat doesn't always give me the mic every year because I don't always read the cue cards, and she gets nervous that, you know, I might come up here and talk about a great recipe for like chicken cacciatore. She doesn't know. So but every now and then she's like, all right, just to shut you up, I'll give you a few minutes and we can go on with our things. So I want to talk with you a little bit this evening about resilience. And I really feel like everyone in the room has a very, very strong definition and understands what the meaning of resilience is. Because you would not be here without resilience. You would not be coming to the conference. It's extremely difficult to travel with a disability. And I've been telling everybody this year too, please bear in mind, there's no hotel in America that can handle a conference like this, where now, because of Pat and others, what has grown to be over 1,400 people. When I first started coming to conference, maybe 5 or 6 individuals using wheelchairs came. There's over 90 of us now. No hotel in America can support that unless we buy a hotel. Pat, listen up. We're going to buy a hotel. We're going to put it in the lovely city of Boston, which, by the way, I might add, is also known as Titletown, because we have more sports championship. Nevin, I heard that. We're going to put a hotel in the middle of Boston, and we're all going to go there, and that's going to be where conference is. And we're going to get a jet. I've talked to Pat about this already. We're going to get a PPMD jet, and we're going to make the hotel completely accessible to everybody, and it's going to be wonderful. But until then, we experience resilience every time we do everything. Okay, we have to work through stuff, right? So you already read the slide 4 times while you're listening to me. You all have felt what it's like to overcome a challenge. A lot of you probably overcame some challenges today. We've been talking a lot upstairs in the Champions Gate room with the pack and the other individuals living with Duchenne and Becker, all about the fact that we're engineers. We are engineers every day of our lives. We work through problems. We have to find very interesting solutions. I heard a great story today from a gentleman that lives in Brazil that was on a Zoom, and he was away from home, and he was at college, and he was able to get himself in and out of the shower, but he was in the shower one day, and the shower chair broke, and he went crashing to the floor, and he was there, and he was luckily able to reach his phone, call for help. He laughs now when he was telling the story, but he'll be the first one to admit, not so funny when it happened. Resilience. living with a chronic illness, we have to have it at all times. So as I've gotten older, and as Pat said, we met in middle school. So I am 26, and I dye my hair white. But as I got older, I began to think about the fact that you can't do this without a community. And also you can't do this without what I call developing your own toolbox. And call it a bag of tricks. It gets deeper and bigger as you get older, and you make more connections, and you find people that have like interests, and people that you love, and people that love you and support you. So, the life toolbox is full of my different silver hammers. Diagnosis comes like a load of bricks up the side of your head, and you freak out and you panic, and then in this day and age, you use Dr. Google, which is not always a good idea, because you read things and you panic. After a while, you have acceptance, but again, coming from my point of view as someone living with the disease, the cycle of grief never ends. You get to acceptance, and then you have a slip. Something happens with your health, or something else happens, or just another setback, and you go through the anger again, and the denial, and the bargaining, and finally acceptance. It happens over and over again, and as you get older and recognize the triggers, you can mitigate how stressful it becomes. But also you do that by having tools in your toolbox and knowing when to reach out for help. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I was talking about independence. You know, and I said, I don't like that word because everyone says, you've got to live an independent life. None of us is truly 100% independent. If you need a kidney transplant, you're probably not independent. Unless you're going to cut yourself open and, you know, visit the dark web, buy your own kidney, put it in, right? So it just depends. I told you I'm a little off. It depends on how independent you're going to be, right? So for this kind of thing, independence might be lacking in the physical realm, but it's certainly not lacking everywhere else. Again, I talk about the Patient Adult Advisory Committee and the PAC guys. You know, we have someone studying to be a lawyer right now. We have people that have PhDs, people that are married with kids. They're completely independent. You know, independence isn't the same vision as society would lead you to believe when an illness comes into your life. And suddenly that dream is shattered. And there's maybe no white picket fence, 2.3 children. I was the 0.3 when I was growing up. The dog, like, so what? It's a different view. You know, society tells us what normal is supposed to be. And then we push back and say, normal is whatever we define it as, right? This is what we do. So, how do you persevere through physical barriers? I love to say that when a physical barrier is in front of me, I find a way to go through it. If I can't go through it, I go around it. If I can't go around it, I go under it. And if I can't go under it, I go over it. I try not to let it stop me. And sometimes I need help with that, okay? I'm extremely headstrong. I'm very stubborn, and that has helped me, but I also have learned when it's time to ask for help. Sometimes it might be something little, like, can someone grab me a straw so I can put in this drink? And as you're about to learn, sometimes it's a little bit more of an ask, okay? I think that knowing your body and what it needs to maintain function as long as possible is also important. Again, you use the team, right? You talk about nutrition as you get older. You talk about managing other parts of your body and things that maybe you can control, okay? This is where, if Dr. Kent is in the room, he likes to talk about GI and control and that stuff, but that's a whole different talk. So, sometimes the hammers are too heavy. Sometimes they're too big, you can't lift them by yourself. This is where you need a team, right? All of us have a team, and the team starts at home, okay? It's your friends, it's your family, it's your peers, it's your colleagues at work. It's anyone that you want to educate and let into your strange little world about living with muscular dystrophy. It's the 150 times a year that you have to explain to somebody that it's not MS. Yeah, you can go ahead, yeah. That joke is like 20, 30 years old, and it's still funny because, right? here we are in 2024, and you're laughing because it's happened to you recently. And I've never seen any ad on television for multiple sclerosis. And people are like, oh yeah, my aunt had MS. I know how you feel. My favorite one of all time, I was out somewhere, my buddy Jim might have been with me, he's here today. Somebody came out to me and, oh yeah, man, were you in the war? I'm like, I'm in one right now talking to you, buddy. And he looks at me and he goes, I know how you feel. My grandmother was in a chair. I said, I was in a chair earlier today. I'm not in a chair, I use a wheelchair. I hate that. Wheelchair bound. What does that mean? On Monday I was bound for Orlando. Whatever. So, make sure everybody knows other things about you besides muscular dystrophy, right? You're funny, tell people you're funny. It's all part of your life, and I love when people also say, well, they can see past the chair. This background, for those of you that are like me and we have a little bit of an attention focus problem, earlier today I'm listening to great information. This is awesome. Wow, what a cool background. See past the chair? What's past the chair is the background. See me use the chair. See me with the chair. Ask me about the chair. It's part of my life, not the whole part, but it is part. So people say, oh, I ignore it. Nah, it's here. We all have something, right? But when you have a physical disability, you can't really hide it as easily. So you talk about it. Besides your home team, here's where we're going to go next. You need a good medical team, right? All of you know that. Everyone in this room, it's funny when you try to talk to someone that doesn't get it. When you say, oh, you have to go to the doctor? Yes, except it's doctors plural with 4 S's at the end. They might be in different buildings, different cities, sometimes even different countries. What do you mean? I have a medical team. I have such an issue that I have a whole team of people paid just to think about me. I kind of like that, right? So what, I'm not going to go through the list of doctors. I don't have to, you all know. But you seek out the experts at conferences like this, and you build community, as Pat and the team has done for 30 years now. And the community is strong, it's thriving, and it's the best family that you never want to belong to. But one of the main reasons I come to conference, besides to run my mouth, is I love so many people in this room that I have met and they've become lifelong friends. And as you may or may not know, because I do know a lot of you in the room, planning ahead, having a medical binder contact info team, you say, yeah, this is great. I got sick last winter, quite sick, and I didn't realize how much I needed the team until then. And that also helped me become resilient, because as I did get sick, I thought to myself, there are so many experts that know what's going on. I put it in their hands, and I knew things were going to be okay because we all help each other in this community. We all lift each other up. And that's exactly what happened. So, the part you've all been waiting for. There are some people in this room and some people not in this room that I want to personally thank that helped me through some difficult stuff recently. And it's wonderful to have them in their corner. They're considered seriously to be world experts. And I thought, when I was in recovery in the hospital, I thought to myself about this moment. I thought, I'm going to get back, but I can't wait to go address these people and actually tell them how I feel. When you have a health scare, you get very reflective, and you start to think about what's really important. And what's important is time and people and connections and meaningful conversations and telling people how you feel. Instead of the day-to-day, my coffee was too hot at Starbucks, my batteries died in this device. None of that stuff matters. What matters is communication and team. So I know some of these people are not here, but these are all people that personally helped me. And if you are in the room, I want you to stand and be recognized And now for the frightening part. I know all of you well, so I found photographs of you used with your permission. Actually, that's not true. Well, I did get permission, but it wasn't from you. It was from another colleague of yours. So it was like if I wanted to download this picture of a doctor, I called another doctor and said, do you think I can use this picture of Dr. McGillicuddy? And you're sure you can? Yeah, that'd be great. So, this is where it's supposed to, hey, oh, there we go. So, you might know Dr. Swinati, who I don't think can be here this conference, but a wonderful man. So we thank him. Please applaud for the photo, because these guys are. So now I'm clicking and it's not going. Aha. This is Dr. Hill. He is one of my pulmonologists at Tufts Medical Center in Boston. Unbelievable human being. I've been trying to get him to come to conference for years. As you can see from this picture, he's 175 years old and doesn't always travel. Every time I see him, I'm like, I love the guy, but I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be treating you soon. Yeah. In the room, please stand up. Dr. Richard Schell, where are you? Where's Dr. Schell? I consider Dr. Schell a friend, besides a member of my medical team. We talk about his kids. His kids go to school in Boston. He's come to Boston. We hang out. He has great socks. And there are a lot of pictures of Dr. Schell online, but I had to find this one because look how cool and doctory he looks. Right? Like you talk to him, he's like this normal guy. You see this picture, it's like, I'd hire this guy. I don't know if I'd hire him to like, with the coat, but okay. So now we get to the, Dr. Chet Villa, AKA Jim Carrey. Okay, a wonderful other man that a lot of you know, please. And for Dr. Villa. And again, I want to stress that I see the clock ticking by, but these people all helped me personally. Because what happened was when I did get sick, people, they say, yeah, I know about muscular dystrophy, I know how to treat it, I know how to do this. And then you start to dig deeper and you realize you might know more than the doctors. So it's time to call in the serious experts. And the wonderful part was all these people were instantly on the phone talking to my doctors, and medical team calls back and forth, and my wife was involved, and all this stuff was going on. So like I said, this is my team, and these are my people. And although I have muscular dystrophy, the silver lining is I get to know these people, count them among my friends. And as you probably feel too, they're all so much smarter than I could ever hope to be. You're in their presence and you're like, yeah, for 30 years I taught kids how to blow into the trumpet. And these guys are like, well, the oligonucleotrophy, we slice up with this. I'm like, what? You had me at hello. All right, I have this special picture, and I think this guy is in the room, and he's gonna kill me. Dr. Bob McDonald, man. Where are you, Dr.? Oh, yeah. Dr. Bob, I've known for a long, long time, and again, a dear friend. And when I called him after I was all recovered, I said, thank you so much for your help. I called all these people, and Dr. Bob said, well, I knew I had to be on my game, man. I had to up it up. So this is Dr. Bob's high school photo from 1927, which is why it's in black and white. And Bob, you better be careful, because this is online. But look at that hair, look at that moss. That is some moss. And of course, I have to do it because we all love and we all respect, and where would we all be without the clicker? 6 clicks, Pat. when I was sick, Pat called my wife and said, what can I do? And Vanessa said, if you want, you can come to Boston. Pat said, no, I'm not going to come to Boston and walk around and look at people. Tell me what to do. And Vanessa said, we need some help. So she made phone calls, made a bunch of things happen. A bunch of people got on the phone. It was amazing. I mean, it takes a village to raise an idiot, and I'm the idiot. Oh, wow, look at that. The light turns yellow when it's 2 minutes. Still a lot of pressure. Why doesn't this work? Hey, Dudley. Okay, I'm not going to read this because it's way too wordy. So this will go out later in the stream, or you can take a photo if you would like. This is how I define resilience for myself. So like I said, I mean, you can read through that, scan that. I'm not even going to talk about it and read the whole thing. But it's all the stuff that I think for me personally is how I live. And I really got a dose of how to be resilient this year. And it's made me see that life is precious. And I'm glad that we're all together in the room. And I've been wandering around this conference all weekend. And when I give you a hug, if I've known you for a long time, and I say to you that I love you, I mean it. I totally mean it. It's an amazing group to belong to. I would not change a minute of my journey. And I'm really, really, really honored that you were able to carve out a half hour of your time to listen to me today. So I'm about to run out of time, and I know that when it gets to 0, I either drop through the stage or I puff into a ball of smoke. I'm here. You can come and talk to me whenever. I am online, presence, the pack. You can look me up on the website. Shameless promotion. I also write a blog every week. You can just search me up by name. Sometimes it's extremely funny, stupid stories of my life and travels with my friends. Other times it's a little more serious and reflective. But resilience is what we all need and what we have in the room. So thank you very much for listening to me ramble on. And I love all of you, and thank you for letting me talk. Oh yeah, that's the eclipse. Remember that? Yeah. Good times. People are like, what's that by your feet? You sleeping? It's a bag of sunflower seeds. That's all I got for you. All right, thank you. Pat, do I need to leave the stage now?
You're very welcome to stay. If you want me to help you get back there, are you okay?
No, I'm going to go down backwards.
All right. I will say when Pat was sick, the physicians he mentioned, I happened to be the recipient or be on a thread of cell phones that were talking about what to do and when to do it. And I would like to download it, but I don't know how to do that. And probably I'd violate patient privacy, but that doesn't really bother me so much as the technology of doing that. But I will say to you that those physicians were on the phone day and night talking to his physicians about what to do, when to do it, how to get him from one hospital airlifted to another. It was, for me, an incredible village of people that were caring for Pat, and that's what we have here. And I can't say how grateful I am. And Bob, that picture, I don't know, high school, all of those people with all of those brains were focused on a person to really make a successful outcome to what was a very difficult situation. So with that, we have our last session now. Rachel's going to come up and manage the session, and then you have to stay because of the picture and because I have notes of what I have to say about where we're going next year, because you're all coming next year, of course. So over to you, Rachel.